What if I told you that some of the most calcium-rich foods on the planet are growing right now in backyard gardens, raised beds, and containers across the United States, and the people walking past them every day have no idea? Most of us were taught early on that milk is the gold standard for calcium. A glass at breakfast, another with dinner, and your bones are covered. But gram for gram, 8 plants you can grow in your own garden deliver more calcium than whole milk. A few of them deliver nearly double. I am Timothy, and this is Evergreen Garden. Stick around, because plant number 6 on this list is one that most American gardeners have been pulling out of their beds for years without knowing what they were throwing away. And plant number 8 is something you plant once and your household can harvest calcium-rich food from for decades. Hit that subscribe button right now and give this video a like. Here at Evergreen Garden, we post new practical gardening content every week, and you do not want to miss what is coming next. A quick note on the comparison. Gram for gram, these plants beat milk. Whole milk contains roughly 120 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams. Everything on this list beats that number, and a few beat it by nearly 3 times. Plant number 1, kale. Kale delivers around 150 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams compared to milk's 120. The calcium comes alongside vitamin K and magnesium, which help the body use it effectively. What you grow and harvest yourself works harder than what comes out of a carton. Kale grows as a cool season annual in USDA zones 3 through 6 and as a biennial or short-lived perennial in zones 7 through 9. It prefers temperatures between 45 and 75 degrees and actively improves in flavor after a light frost. In the ground, give it full to partial sun, rich soil with consistent moisture, and space plants 18 to 24 inches apart. For containers, use a pot at least 12 inches deep. The most practical tip for consistent calcium harvest: never pull the whole plant. Cut the outer leaves as you need them and let the center keep producing. One plant can give you leaves for months. The mistake that kills continuous kale production is letting the plant bolt in summer heat. If summer temperatures in your area regularly hit 90 degrees or above, treat kale as a fall and spring crop rather than a year-round one. Plant number 2, collard greens. Collard greens deliver around 232 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams. That is nearly double the calcium in the same weight of milk. Collards grow as a biennial in USDA zones 6 through 9 and as a cool season annual in zones 3 through 5. They are among the most cold-tolerant vegetables in the brassica family, surviving light frosts without damage and actually improving in sweetness and flavor once temperatures drop in fall. Direct sow seeds in spring 6 weeks before the last frost date, or start transplants and set them out 4 to 6 weeks before fall frost for a fall and winter harvest. Space plants 18 to 24 inches apart and give them full sun. One of the most important details about collard greens and calcium: cooking them in water and then discarding the cooking liquid removes some of the nutrients. Steam or sauté them instead to keep more of what you grew them for. The mistake most gardeners make is harvesting too early before the plant has developed its full leaf size. Give collards 8 to 10 weeks before your first harvest, and the flavor and yield will be significantly better. Plant number 3, amaranth. Amaranth is one of those rare plants that is both a leafy green and a grain, and it carries around 215 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams in its leaves alone. It grows as an annual in USDA zones 2 through 11, which means it is one of the most adaptable calcium plants on this list. If you can grow anything in your climate, you can grow amaranth. Wait in the garden for soil temperatures to reach at least 50 degrees before direct sowing. Then scatter seeds across well-prepared soil and press them in lightly. Amaranth needs full sun and almost nothing else. It tolerates poor soil, heat, and drought once established, and can grow 6 feet tall or more in a single season. For leafy greens and maximum calcium harvest, begin cutting the young leaves when plants are about 8 to 10 inches tall before they flower. Use them like spinach, in salads, sautéed, or added to soups. If you let some plants go to flower and set grain, the seed heads produce thousands of tiny calcium-rich seeds that can be cooked as a grain or ground into flour. The mistake to avoid is planting too early before soil has warmed. Amaranth is warm season and will sit dormant in cold soil rather than germinating, wasting your early season planting window. Plant number 4, arugula. Arugula delivers around 160 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams, more than milk, and it does it faster than almost any other plant on this list. from seed to harvest is typically 35 to 40 days, which means you can have a calcium crop in the ground and on the table in under 6 weeks. Arugula grows as a cool season annual in all USDA zones 3 through 11 and thrives in spring and fall when temperatures are between 45 and 65 degrees. Direct sow seeds about a 1/4 inch deep directly in the garden or in containers as soon as the soil can be worked in spring. Space seeds 2 to 4 inches apart or broadcast them across a small bed and thin as they grow. For containers, any pot at least 6 inches deep works fine. Coming up in a moment, number 6 is a plant your garden may already have that most people pull without knowing what they are removing. But first, the practical arugula tip. Sow a small batch every 2 weeks through spring and again starting in late summer for a continuous harvest window. The mistake almost every new grower makes is planting arugula in full summer heat, which causes the plant to bolt almost immediately and turn too bitter to eat. Plant number 5, turnip greens. Most gardeners who plant turnips are thinking about the root. The greens that grow above it are an afterthought. That is a missed opportunity because turnip greens deliver around 190 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams, which is nearly 60% more calcium than whole milk, and a single plant gives you both. Turnips grow as cool season annuals in USDA zones 3 through 9, and the greens taste best when grown in fall rather than spring. Sow turnip seeds directly in the garden about 6 to 8 weeks before your first expected frost. Begin harvesting the outer greens when plants reach 6 inches tall, leaving the center to keep growing. Allow the plant to keep maturing, and the root will develop underneath at the same time. One plant delivers 2 crops. The timing detail that most gardeners miss: calcium content in leafy greens measurably increases when plants are grown in cool weather compared to warm weather. Fall-grown turnip greens harvested after light frost contain more calcium and taste sweeter than greens pulled from a spring planting in warming soil. Plant in late summer for the crop with the most nutritional return. Plant number 6, stinging nettle. Here is the one I promised earlier. Stinging nettle is growing in millions of American gardens and along the edges of millions of American yards right now, and most of the people who have it are spending time and effort every spring pulling it out. Fresh stinging nettle, cooked or steamed, delivers around 155 to 200 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams, more than whole milk, alongside high levels of iron, potassium, and plant compounds that have been studied for their effects on inflammation. It is also genuinely one of the most nutrient-dense edible wild plants native to North America. Stinging nettle grows as a perennial in USDA zones 3 through 10 and spreads by rhizome. If you want to grow it deliberately, start from seed or divisions in spring, in partial to full sun and moist soil. Contain it with root barriers or in a raised bed because it will spread. Harvest the young shoot tips in spring before the plant flowers, when the leaves are most tender and palatable. Cooking or drying completely neutralizes the sting, making them entirely safe to eat. Do not harvest barehanded. Wear gloves and long sleeves when cutting. One safety note worth mentioning: if you are taking blood thinners or diuretic medications, speak with your doctor before adding large amounts of stinging nettle to your diet, as it may interact with both. Plant number 7, Moringa. Moringa is one of the most calcium-rich leafy plants in the world, delivering around 185 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams from its fresh leaves, and more than that when the leaves are dried and powdered. Moringa is best known as a fast-growing tree in tropical and subtropical climates, but American gardeners in USDA zones 9 through 11 can grow it as a perennial tree. Gardeners in zones 6 through 8 can grow Moringa as a large annual, planting from seed each spring once temperatures are reliably warm, and harvesting leaves throughout summer before the first fall frost ends the season. Plant Moringa seeds directly after the last frost in full sun and well-drained soil. The plant is remarkably drought-tolerant and grows quickly, sometimes reaching 6 to 8 feet in a single season from seed. For annual growing in colder zones, start seeds indoors 6 weeks before your last frost date, then transplant outdoors once night temperatures stay above 50 degrees. One safety note: use only the leaves. The roots and bark contain compounds that can be harmful. Plant number 8, garden figs. A fig tree is one of the most overlooked long-term calcium investments you can make in your garden. Fresh figs off the tree contain about 35 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams, which is less than milk. But when you dry figs from your own tree, either in a dehydrator, a low oven, or by sun-drying in a warm climate, the calcium concentrates. 100 grams of dried figs delivers around 162 milligrams of calcium, more than the same weight of whole milk, and a well-established fig tree produces more fruit than most families can eat fresh every season, which means the dried surplus becomes a long-term calcium source you can reach into year-round. Fig trees grow as perennials in USDA zones 7 through 11, producing reliable fruit in full sun with minimal water once established. In zones 5 and 6, grow figs in large containers brought indoors for winter. Plant in well-drained soil and full sun. Most fig varieties are self-fertile, so one tree is enough. Established trees need little fertilizer and are drought-tolerant. One practical note: figs do not ripen after picking, unlike many fruits. Wait until the fruit is fully soft and begins to hang or droop from the branch before harvesting. Picking too early results in hard, tasteless fruit with none of the sweetness or nutritional value of a fully ripe fig. One caution to be aware of: the white sap in fig branches and unripe fruit can cause contact dermatitis in some people. Wear gloves when pruning. Any one of these 8 plants earns its space in a garden. Pick 2 or 3 that suit your zone and space, get them established, and build from there. And if you already have stinging nettle growing on your property, consider leaving a patch. It is doing more for your garden than most people realize. Before you go, tell me 2 things in the comments. First, which of these 8 plants are you most interested in growing? And do you already have any of them in your garden? Second, what zone are you gardening in? And what calcium-rich plants are already growing well for you? I read every comment, and your answers shape what we cover next at Evergreen Garden. Give this video a thumbs up if it gave you something useful. Subscribe so you do not miss what is coming, and I will see you in the next one.